6 News reporter Vince Lennon joins us now live with the latest from the scene.
Well, Gene, Knox County Sheriff's deputies are trying to determine how this collision between a Knox County Sheriff's deputy's car and a Knox County school bus happened. Now, the wreck occurred just before 4 o'clock at the Washington Pike Murphy Road intersection. 10 students from bus 194 en route home from Holston Middle School are hospitalized right now, as is Deputy Matthew Beard. None of the injuries are considered life-threatening. Apparently, the southbound bus was turning left onto Murphy when it collided with the deputy's car.
Officer Beard made a green arrow.
The bus panel.
All 10 kids and the deputy were taken to UT Medical Center for treatment, and we have confirmed now with deputies here on the scene that Officer Matthew Beard is the same deputy that survived a gunshot wound to the head approximately 10 years ago on a domestic disturbance call. We'll give you more details and information as it develops here in the bottom of the hour. Till then, live here in Rita, Vince Lennon, 6 News.
6 News reporter Vince Lennon was the first reporter on the scene, and he is live in Gatlinburg tonight with more on what happened this morning and what will happen now.
Well, good evening, Gene, Heather, and luckily no one was killed or injured in this incident. Architects and engineers are in the process as we speak of their plans of rebuilding as residents look for a place to hang their heads tonight after an extremely tumultuous morning.
Well, I woke up about 2 o'clock this morning and winds were blowing real hard then.
But the worst was yet to come some 7 hours later.
And it was just a horrific noise because it was like a big boom, and I almost thought that some kind of lightning or something hit a transformer. That's how loud it was.
Instead, Peggy Clark and James Faulkner now know it was a straight-line wind that literally raised the roof off of the Ski View Motel and scared them and their family to wit's end.
I don't know what I'm thinking right now. I don't know where I'm going to go. You know, this is where I live. So.
The 36-unit hotel was filled to near capacity when the winds whipped up just before 9 this morning. Some witnesses at first thought it was a fire, mistaking blown insulation as smoke. Gatlinburg Building Inspector Ron Green tells me this roof was installed on the building in 1987 over the existing flat roof. Neither Green nor property owner Stuart Kaplow knows for certain exactly how old the building is, other than it predates the 1970s. As police secure the scene, some residents are allowed to recover some personal items. Interior damage is said to be minimal, although a couple of vehicles aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Cindy Keller feels lucky all she lost was some sorely needed sleep.
If you're down on your luck enough to be living in this type of a housing situation as compared to a nice big fancy house, you don't want to lose what little you might have left.
Now, a couple of postscript notes of mention. There are 9 families that have found housing elsewhere in another nearby motel. The other remaining 26 families are set up in a nearby shelter at near Gatlinburg Pittman High School. It's the community center that is now the temporary shelter, and that availability will begin at 8:30 tonight because of a pre-existing engagement there at the community center. And just in case anyone needs this information, the number at that temporary shelter is 436-4990. Reporting live in Gatlinburg, Vince Lennon, 6 News. Welcome to Jamestown, Tennessee's Dreamy Lane, which in reality is more of a nightmare, with a neighborhood argument over this unlicensed kennel. Folks who live here say the situation has totally gone to the dogs.
I've lived here 2 years. I pay my own taxes, my own bills, and I stay on my own property.
Bonita and Arvin Todd are at odds with their neighbors, who have a couple of bones to pick with them as well. The Todds raise pit bulls on their property, which includes a condemned trailer and a trashed yard. And by the Todds' own handwritten admission, their dogs do sometimes escape, much to the worry of neighbors.
We can't walk to our mailbox because they lunge at us. We can't let our kids outside to play. I've got a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old. They're not allowed outside.
Spanky Rich and his girlfriend just had twins, but their family is fractured.
She's wanting to move down here with me, but for the simple fact she doesn't want to move down here is plainly because of the dogs.
He's just playful. He won't hurt nothing.
The Todds say their dogs are harmless and deny claims they've ever mistreated their animals. Have you had any problems with the law and your dogs?
No.
The law's never been out here for dogs?
No. Only their dogs. It's running loose.
There wasn't adequate housing. I know she can't afford the food, medical care for them. No, I wouldn't say it was proper at all.
Sandra Hall is president of Best Friends, a local animal rescue group. 2 years ago, Hall, along with Fentress County deputies, visited the Todds and their animals.
The dogs were malnourished, and they were needing, you know, their health seen about. They were in bad health, and it was just an abuse situation.
Do y'all have your license handy?
License? What do you mean?
Benita and Arvid say, doggone it, they just want to be left alone. Neighbors agree with the doggone part, but want something done permanently. The animal welfare group here in Fentress County says they'll investigate the latest claims against the Todds, who, for as of now, do not face any criminal charges. But it appears neither they nor their neighbors are any closer to finding a resolution. In Jamestown, Vince Lennon, 6 News. Happy New Year. The standard greeting rings as hollow as what's left of the home of Doug and Linda Frank. The Madisonville couple and their 4 children lost literally everything they owned when their house went up in flames this morning.
Monroe County Sheriff's Department, they called me. So they called me to ask if anybody was in the house. I said, no, luckily there's not.
How much can one woman take? It's a question you may ask yourself when hearing the plight of Linda Frank.
His health is not.
He's in really bad health.
Yeah, he's in really bad health, and right now he's not.
He's probably going to have to be took to the doctor this evening.
Linda and her aunt, Sue Williams, were talking about Linda's 40-year-old husband, Frank, seen leaning against the truck in the background.
I've lost a lot of things in there that nobody would be able to.
Linda was talking about the fire when tragedy struck again.
We're lost. Oh, God, that's your husband. Call 911, please. Somebody! 911.
Thankfully, first responders were still on the scene when Doug collapsed to administer first aid. As family consoled Linda, she feared her husband has had another heart attack.
I've talked to some of the paramedics and stuff, and they think it might have been an anxiety attack, but he has had some prior heart history trouble.
Notchie Creek Fire Department Chief Wayne Whitener says he's heard of such anxious episodes but never witnessed one. Minutes later, an ambulance took Doug Frank away for emergency medical treatment, while detectives continue to sift through the charred remains of the 70-year-old home. Chief Whitener says he'll alert area charities on behalf of the family.
And they do put up fire victims, you know, where they've been burned out of their homes and stuff. They've several churches, they'll donate to the cause.
Doug Frank was taken to Sweetwater Medical Center. His status as of now is unknown, but we can tell you at the time of transport he was relatively alert and stable. As for the fire and its possible cause, that remains under investigation. In Madisonville, Vince Lennon, Fox 43 News. The Scott County Sheriff's Department's worst kept secret for the last 5 days is now official, with District Attorney General Paul Phillips confirming the fact that Deputy John Yancey was indeed shot and killed by his partner, Marty Carson.
The TBI has conducted a thorough investigation, and there is no wrongdoing on the part of any of the officers who were there.
That decision, though, does little to diminish the agony of a grieving department and a remorseful officer.
Him and Officer Yancey were very close. They were more like brothers. They worked close together. They were as close as you could get.
From a prepared statement, Scott County District Attorney General Paul Phillips explains what went wrong in an Oneida mobile home meth bust last Friday. Phillips says 2 of 4 suspects had refused narcotics officer Marty Carson's demand that they come out from a back bedroom.
While Marty Carson thought he was the only officer in the mobile home, actually Sergeant Yancey had come in. Officer Carson then thought that someone had come out of the back bedroom and was armed and advancing on him, and he fired his weapon. Tragically, it was Sergeant Yancey.
There's nothing no worse than that. It's just like that, you know, when something like this happens, it's like you've lost one of your family.